from Intelligent Property Training. You're welcome to YouTube, and by all means subscribe and hit the notifications bell if you'd like to be reminded when we go live. So today we're going to chat about building a portfolio with minimum money down. So what does that mean? What on earth could that course possibly cover? So lots of people, when they contact us first, they assume that anyone who has 10 houses saved 10 deposits. And it's very, very, very unusual that someone who has 10 houses saved 10 deposits for houses. Now, back in the day, people understood when there was equity release. All right, you bought one and then you waited for that to go up in value, and then you refinanced, and then you paid a deposit for another one. And people understood that model fairly well. But what people don't seem to understand, because they're more advanced creative strategies, is things like delayed completions. So where you would be in a house, have control of a house, but you mightn't be actually going to pay for it for 3 years' time. And all the reasons why you would do that, and why you would add value to a house that's not yours, and when is it safe to replace the kitchen? Is that not somebody else's house? What happens if anything happens with their bank? They don't understand lease options, say, where you have an option but not an obligation to buy. So I hope I'm not talking completely confusing. What I suppose I'm mentioning is all the different creative strategies that allow you to add to your property portfolio without saving a 30% deposit each time. At the moment in Ireland, most buy-to-lets, you'd have to pay 30% down. It'd be a 70% mortgage. And that means that young people are looking at landlords who have 40 units, and they can't understand how on earth do they ever get 40 units if they have to save 30% each time. And they maybe assume that he or she had them before all these new regulations, and they were doing top-ups and they were cross-charging things. But there still is ways to keep recycling that money. It's just that people need more advanced training, and they need more creative methods with lease options, tenant buyers. So you could be a tenant buyer, which would mean you'd be a tenant in a property initially and then you'd buy it out later. You could be delayed completion, as I mentioned. You could have a lease option on something. You could be paying the property off month by month, not paying the whole lot on purchase at all. The vendor might be supplying the finance. So there's a huge amount of creative strategies which allow for people to build up a portfolio. Quite honestly, the model of paying the market rate, if I went to the market and I said, right, I want to buy a buy-to-let, and I'm going to make 10% rent. 10% is an achievable enough rent. Rents are actually higher percentile-wise outside Dublin, although most people in Ireland seem to think if you own a few buy-to-lets in Dublin, you're home dry and you've made your fortune. That's not actually the case at all, because the costs of running them, the costs of buying them are higher. I would think their percentage yields are actually slightly lower in Dublin than in some other parts of the country. So if I went to the market and I bought something that didn't need any work doing to it, suppose I spent 120,000, let's say, for ease. If I spent 120k, say for example in Limerick, I would probably possible to get a 10% yield on that, to get 1,000 a month, which is 12,000. Now out of that, obviously, I'd have to pay my management fees, my local property tax, repairs and maintenance, my income tax, then on the profit and rents, I'd have to pay an accountant. So there's all those different things. Honestly, if I can't add any value to that, it's pointless. The whole thing of rental properties is, to me, almost pointless. And you might say, well, sure, why is she training people to invest in property if she thinks it's pointless? It's pointless unless you can add value to them. So take that exact same example. What I need to be really doing there is buying that unit, that some of them are for sale at 120 in peak condition. I need to find the one that's on at 85 and looks like a bomb hit it. Spend 5,000 or 6,000, and then my rental yield starts to get interesting, because then I'll still get the same rent as the person who paid 120. So that's what we're teaching people to do. We're not teaching you to go out buying walk-in condition. You can forget about walk-in condition once you join Intelligent Property Training. You start to dream of derelict, horrible, disgusting houses. Where you have to be able to add value. This is where lots of things went wrong in the last recession. You know, they were bought at the absolute peak of their value where nobody could have ever added anything to them because they were never going to be worth any more. And then, of course, they started to go the other way. So what we're looking to do always, even whether it's a buy-to-let, whether it's a HMO, whether it's a serviced accommodation, whether it's a flip, whether it's assisted sale, we're looking to add value and create equity, which makes you, that's what makes the whole thing safe. So take that example, the 120 at 10%. So supposing my neighbour goes and buys the 120 just as it is, which lots of people do, they pay 30% down, which is 36,000, they get their 10% rent. Nothing really exciting is going to change or happen. Like, they're not going to be giving up work after they pay the mortgage, the maintenance, the local property tax, the management fees. They're not going to be giving up work unless they've, a lot of these guys. Now, if they got into HMOs, yeah, they'd have higher yields and everything, and they probably would be able to eventually give up work. But then think of me coming along buying one for 85,000 and spending, say, 5,000 just for ease. With 5,000 now, I could change a kitchen, I could spruce up a bathroom, and I could paint the whole house and probably redress it, not refurnish it. So now I've paid 90,000. So the big thing is that I've created 30,000 equity. Now I do these for simplicity's sake. I'll always keep easy numbers. But generally when I'm teaching people to flip, my rule of thumb is if you spend 10,000, you want to have added 30,000. You're trying to treble your number or more all the time. So that to me is the magic secret. It's the only way to be safely in places that you have plenty of equity in case things start to go the other way. But it's also the secret to successful flipping, obviously, and assisted sales, is that being able to create value. So that is how we then build on that, plus all the creative strategies to teach people how to build a portfolio with minimum money down. Now, I know there's lots of things called no money down, and I just don't think no money down is realistic. Sure, I need some money to go. I need some money to drive off and do viewings. You need money to advertise. You need money. You do need some sort of money. It's foolish to say to people that you can set up a property business, I think, with no money down. You need some sort of money. But to start doing deal packaging, assisted sales and things like that, you need very limited money. And then you build on that into building a portfolio. Maybe you'll be looking at things like not financing something at all until it's at the higher value. So in this instance, I'd prefer to buy the 85 for cash, whether it's my own cash or investor cash, do the refurb, and then go and take a mortgage for 70% of the 120. Because if I borrow 70% of the 120, that's going to be 94 grand. So what do you know, I've all of my own money back, and I'd have the place furnished as well at that. But I still have equity. People get caught up in this a lot if I mention 100% mortgage. I don't mean 100% of the value, I mean 100% of the purchase price. And they start ranting and raving about negative equity and you're going to end up in the same mess. And it sort of makes me laugh, because I doubt they've dealt with as many insolvency cases as I have. And nobody is more aware than I am of the messes people get themselves into. What I mean is, you're creating value. You still have equity. You'll still only get a 70% mortgage, no matter what you do. It's that you need to be creating value and adding to. So if anyone would like to learn how to build a portfolio with minimum money down, or they'd like to understand how to create value so they could flip houses, I think the reason most people pick one course or another is they just start to firmly feel I do or I don't want tenants. I think that's the big thing in most of us. For me, it's a definite no, I don't want them. For some people, they don't mind them at all. So these are the strategies that help you to build a whole portfolio without having to start at the beginning every time. Save 30%, save 30%. I mean, even on units worth 120, your 30% is 36,000. That's quite a lot of money to save. And remember that all your saving is done in after-tax income. So to save 36, you probably have to earn nearly 70,000. So you're not going to be saving 36,000 that quickly if you're a regular person in a regular job. So I hope that was useful. Message us as always, or come over and join us in our private Facebook group if you want to know more about these creative strategies and the smart way to build a portfolio in Ireland. Thanks.